Yeah. Um, yep. We have this here. Actually, I can do this, yeah. Uh,
Now that I use Monday Service, AI makes solving tickets my form of meditation.
If you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. If you want to be wealthy and happy.
Have you heard about
Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn.
I quote Jim Rohn every week as a speaker.
Imagine meeting someone who's
Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Good question. What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are gonna be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are gonna be like the last 5 unless you, Major Key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life.
But here's the secret. If this is your life and this is today, it doesn't have to be this, or this. It can be as simple as a tiny change in direction. And that's what I want you to realize. It doesn't matter.
Pro lafını susmuna.
We work hard to keep things simple. Nature works even harder. Simple. All natural lemonade. Fresh waste taste. Say yes to simple.
Okay. Be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly. So you get to keep the money. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. personal development. Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. Now, if you're excited and you're ready to change, let me give you 3 steps to start life change that can change your life, your personality, your lifestyle, everything can change. Here's the steps. Number 1, find out how things work. To change your life, really, you need ideas. There isn't anything an idea can change. And Sean taught me the major problem is lack of an idea, not a problem. At first, I didn't have any money. I said to Mr. Shope, I don't have any money. He said, that's not a problem. Now, see, up until then, I always thought it was. I was confused. He said, no, the problem is lack of an idea on how to create money and wealth. It isn't lack of money, it's lack of ideas. So you get the ideas so you can change anything. Now, to get ideas, you need a constant study of finding out. If you wish to be successful, study success. If you wish to be happy, study happiness. If you wish to be wealthy, study wealth. Don't leave them to chance. Make it a study. Some people just go through the day with their fingers crossed. See, that won't do it. You've got to study the things that can change your economic, social, spiritual, personal life. Now, Shope also said, when you find out something that works, put the information in your journal. Don't use your head for a filing cabinet. Put it in your journal so that you can do the next best thing. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Go over. Sure, someday, some mysterious day, the idea takes root, starts to grow, and shows up in your bank account, and your dress, and your personality. Here is a way to find out how to change anything. Any life direction, any dimension. There's 3 ways to find out how to change it. Number 1 is to read. All of the successful people I know and work with around the world are all good readers. Curiosity drives them to read. They just read. Become self-educated. Standard education will get you standard results. And you can check those numbers and see if that's what you want. But if you want to go beyond that, you now got to become self-educated. One way to learn is from your own experiences. But another way to learn is from other people's experiences. See, one book might save you 5 years. If you read. Did you know there's books on how to be stronger? Sacrifice. Be a speaker. Be a leader. Have a better work with other people. Develop your personality. Did you know there's books on that? Did you know that hundreds of successful people have written their stories in books and they wrote down how they did it? People don't read it. How would you explain it? You don't have to read that. But put this in your notes. 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day. Read something positive, something challenging, something inspirational, something instructional. At least 30 minutes a day. Become a good reader. Now, that's my opinion. Listen to the other lecturers, and listen to me, and make up your own mind. Don't be a follower. Be a student. Here's the second way to find out how to change your life. And that's to listen. Get around successful people and listen. Now, you can also learn from unsuccessful people. Take notes on both. Negative and positive. Find out what poor people read. Don't read it. That's good information. Learn from the negative. But now you can also learn from the positive. Get around successful people. Listen to what they say. Listen to how they say it. It's important. Now, here's some of the best advice I've got for the whole evening. Poor people ought to take rich people out to dinner. You heard about. So let's talk about setting goals, and I also want to tie it to personal development. You'll see how I'm going to do it as I progress. Setting goals. We need to take a look into the future. There are 4 things to consider in terms of attitude. 1 is how you feel about the past. best advice I can give you on that is treat the past as a school. Let it teach you the mistakes you've made, the things that went wrong, the things that didn't work. Don't use the past as a burden to carry. And don't use the past as a club to beat yourself. Yeah. Past losses, past failures, past mistakes. But let the past be a school. Tough school maybe. We've all been through some tough stuff. So if you feel good about the past, draw from it for experience and let it teach you. Then next is how you feel about the future. We've got to have the future well designed. The future is called the promise. And here's what we teach in our leadership series. The promise of the future can be an awesome force for your own future. The promise of the future, designing the future. There's two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, and the other is with anticipation. I promise you, in my travels around the world, most people face the future with apprehension. And here's why. They don't have it well designed. They've sort of left that up to someone else to fix. But here's the best way to face the future, with anticipation. And you can face the future with anticipation if the future is clear, if the future is well designed. And I would like to have you consider some thoughts with me that help me to really change my future by giving it some thought and some consideration. And here it is. In setting goals, it's very simple. Number one, decide what you want. You just take a little time. You sit down and say, what do I want? What kind of skills do I want? What kind of income do I want in the future? What would I like? Where would I like to go? Places I'd like to visit. My father had 90 years, but it seemed 93 years, but it seemed short. In his seemingly long life of 93 years, it was short because it just seems like if we only had more time. Old Testament gives us a view of some people who lived to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years old. If I have a chance to ask, I will ask, how come we got shortchanged? Wouldn't that be a good question if you had a chance to ask? Imagine 7, 8, 900 years to watch generation after generation after generation after generation stay healthy and well. I mean, you gotta be healthy to make it to 900. You gotta take your vitamins. I'm pushing the Bible, I'm pushing vitamins. I mean, I'm doing good today. So, the key is time is precious. Now let me give you Bill Bailey's description of time. Life is not just the passing of time. Life is not just the passing of time. Life is a collection of experiences, their frequency, and their intensity. Life is not just watching the clock tick away. Life is a collection of experiences. Their intensity, their frequency. When my friend Mark died at age 44, someone says, that's young to die. But what if he lived 4 lifetimes in one? It might not be too young. So here's whatever the span of your life turns out to be, here's what you want to fill it up with: experiences and the intensity of those experiences. But now let's talk about the management of time. Here's one of the best ones we covered earlier. When should you start building this hotel? Answer: as soon as you have it finished. Now jot this one down on time management. When should you start the day? As soon as you have it finished. Plan the day the best you can, leaving plenty of room for improvising and surprises and all the stuff that happens during the course of the day. But if you've planned a good, productive day, now you start that day. You can't believe how much more valuable your time will be. Don't start the day until you have it finished. Now here's the next one. Don't start the week until you've had it finished. Now to lay out a week is a pretty good challenge. Next, don't start the month until you have it finished. The places to go and the people to see, and the productivity and the sales and the customers and the development and all the rest of what you want to accomplish during the course of 30 days. Don't start the month till it's finished. And then here's the big one. This is really challenging. Don't start the year until you have it finished. To the best of your ability. It can't be finished like minute by minute. But in terms of the sweep of what you want to accomplish in the year 2002, make sure that that's set and ready to go by the time January 1st rolls around.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to view the possibilities all around you. With Capella University,
And it might get all upset. It might get torn up and you do a new one. You make so much progress the first 90 days that now you multiplied it all by 2, by 3. Because that happened to me. I thought, wow, this is going to be a great year. By the time I'd finished the 3rd month, I'm rolling, I'm soaring. So many things are happening. I revised my whole year's plan. Okay. Now, jot this down. Approaches to the management of time. Here's the first one. Ignore the subject. I mean, that's good advice. Don't let anything overly bug you. Because remember now, you don't have to do anything. Someone says, well, I got to get a handle on my time. The answer is no, you don't. If you want to let it all go, you can let it all go. I mean, this is good advice. Somebody says, you ought, you ought, you ought. Jot this down. Ignore all the you oughts or you should. Only if they're giving general information. We should. Better to say if you're teaching, we should. Not you should. We should. Then you let me listen in without it being too confrontational. If everyone did this, see, that'd be great. And then you give a person a chance to choose to do it or not to do it. But when you start the you ought, how to get whatever you want. That's the title of the next set of notes. How to get whatever you want. Here's what it says if you're ready. It says, ask, that's it. End of notes. Ask. If there's one art in life to learn extremely well, that's got to be one of them. The art of asking. What does ask mean? Ask means, what do you want? And the formula is staggering. It says ask and what? A guy ought to look into that. See, you've got to be better than a good worker. You've got to be a good asker. Now, let me give you 3 key points on asking and receiving. This can do it. Number 1, asking is the beginning of receiving. Asking starts a unique process, mental and emotional. I don't even know how it works. All I know is it works. It's like pushing a button and all this machinery starts working. I don't know how. It just works. There's a lot of things you don't need to know how. Just work them. Some people are always studying the roots. Others are picking the fruit. I mean, it depends on what end of it you want in on. Asking is the beginning of receiving, so start the process. Here's number 2. Receiving is not the problem. Receiving is automatic. Now, if that's true, receiving is not the problem. What's the problem? Failure to ask might be one of your major problems. I don't know. Check it out. The guy says, oh, now I see it. I got up last year and did it every day, but there's not a scrap of paper with my goals on it. Good work, poor ask. So you got to change that. Here's number 3. Receiving is like the ocean. There's plenty. Success is not in short supply. It isn't rationed, and you stepped up to the window and it was all gone. No, no, no. It's like an ocean here. Now, if that's true, what's the problem? Well, some people go to the ocean with a teaspoon. Have you got the picture? See, what you want to do in view of the size of the ocean is trade your teaspoon for at least a bucket. And you'll look better down at the ocean. Kids won't make fun of you, right? Okay. Now there's two ways to ask, and we'll wrap up the whole thing. Two ways. Here's number one. Ask with intelligence. It didn't say ask intelligently, but I'm sure it meant that. Don't mumble. You don't get anything by mumbling. Be clear. Be specific. Intelligent asking means how wide, how high, how soon, when, what size, what color, how much. Define what you want and describe what you want. That's powerful. Goals become like a magnet. They pull you that direction. And the better you describe them, the more they pull. So ask intelligently. Here's number two. Ask with faith. That's the childish part of the equation. Believe you can get what you want like a child. Not an adult. Adults are too skeptical. So the formula really reads, make plans like an adult and believe in them like a child. And the most incredible things will happen. Just try it for 90 days. Just try it. You can always go back to the old ways. Just try it. Just 90 days, 90 days. The world admires the doers.
Tell me about Chipotle. Yeah, we cook. We actually cook it with Baker Breakfast Daily.
We hand chop everything every morning.
Get to walk right in. You see me making your chicken. This is going to be in your bowl.
Fresh ingredients every day.
Everything changed for me when I understood this lesson. Happy the rest of your life. Just learn this lesson well. Responsibility. And that is to make sure you get your time's worth. And I say that because time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, right? But you can't get more time. When you spend a day, you've got one less day to spend. So if somebody has the audacity to ask you to spend one of your evenings, they darn well better have something important, right? An evening is a chunk of your life. I wouldn't waste one of my evenings for anybody. Not anymore, once I discovered how valuable they were. So hopefully by the time we finish tonight, you'll have your time's worth, as well as your money's worth. Okay, we're going to take a break about halfway. Not just for the smokers, but for everybody. We can't sit here right 3 hours straight. That would be asking a little bit too much. Somebody once said, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. And I think that's true. So we're not going to make you endure too long before we take a break along about midway. We'll stretch a little bit and then we'll come back and we'll finish up. Does everybody have note paper? Some note paper. If you don't have some, borrow from your neighbor. Make sure you've got something to take notes on. This is a work session tonight, okay? I have not come to entertain you, as you can tell by my opening joke, right? I wouldn't make it in Las Vegas. We don't have a dog and pony show tonight, but we've got some ideas to share. I'd like to have you capture also, if there's several members of one family, my suggestion is all of you take notes. One will capture what the other one might miss, and that way you'll come up with a more complete set. I think you'll be happier about that. Okay, hopefully everybody can find a seat tonight. It's kind of jammed in here. Do we have any teenagers? Teenagers, 19 years or younger, would you stand up? No cheating on this now. 19 years or younger, stand up where you are. All over the audience. Let's give them a hand. Hey, nice to see you. Thank you very much. I'm always flattered when the kids come. I've got a good story for you. Two little boys in school. One was very bright, the other one wasn't very bright. Teacher gave a test one day, 10 questions. And she's looking at the papers. To her surprise, The little boy who isn't very bright has answered 9 of the 10 questions. Perfect. And the teacher thought, well, that can't be right. He's not that smart. So she looked at the other paper. The little boy who was very bright, he had answered 9 of the 10 questions perfect. The teacher thought, well, something's wrong. And sure enough, the answers to the 10th question was the problem. The little boy who was very bright, when he got to the 10th question, he didn't know the answer, and he was running out of time, so he just wrote down, I don't know the answer to this one. Turned his paper in. The teacher looked at the other paper, little boy who wasn't bright, and he had answered the 10th question, I don't know either. Which means don't cheat, I guess, right? It never works out well. Okay. The ideas I want to share with you tonight, I started listening to at age 25. At a time in my life when I needed some additional ideas to help get my life straightened out and headed in a little better direction. I got off to a pretty good start up in Idaho farm country, where I was raised, southwestern corner of Idaho, little community of 4,000 or 5,000 people. In fact, my parents still live in the same little community where I was raised. I was just up to visit them last week, and they're doing extremely well. My father's 79, my mother's 73, and they're still very busy, very healthy, got all kinds of projects going, unbelievable. Land development, they're making money. I can't believe it. They've been a great example for me. They bought some property not long ago, signed up for a 30-year loan. I got to be impressed. I was up to visit them last year. We had a big party one evening, lasted till about 2 o'clock in the morning, celebrating. And it was time to celebrate. My parents had bought gold at $125, and they were cashing in a big share of it at $680. And if you get to buy at $125, cash in at $680, you got to celebrate. So celebrate we did. But anyway, that's where I got started. I went to high school and graduated. I went to college for a year and a half, and I quit. Decided I was smart enough, and got me a job and went to work to see if I could make all of my ambitions come true. A couple of years later, I met a very beautiful young lady, and I put probably my finest sales presentation on her. I promised her wealth and fame and fortune and world travel and all those good things. I said it will probably be the finest decision of your life to marry me. And she bought that story, fortunately for me. And we got married, and I'm continuing to work hard to see if I can't make all these dreams and promises come true. Well, 2 or 3 years after I'd gotten married, it didn't look like my new bride had made such a wise decision. I'm now starting to struggle. I'm not destitute, but it isn't working quite like I had promised. I'm looking at my paycheck on Friday, $57. And that isn't quite what I promised. And already I had fallen into the someday honey routine with my wife. Right? Someday, honey, you won't have to sit on this old furniture. Someday, honey, you'll have a car of your own. I had already someday honeyed myself into trouble. Well, now I'm wondering, what should I do? I'm struggling. I'm behind. Money's one of my problems. I got far too much month at the end of the money, if you've ever had that problem. I remember one time losing a $10 bill, and I was physically ill for 2 days. Over $10. And, of course, my friends tried to be cheerful, right? They said, look, maybe some poor person that needed it found it. I'm willing to admit to you that that really didn't help. At age 25, benevolence had not yet seized me. You know, I'm the poor person that needs to find $10, not lose $10. But that's where I was. I thought, well, maybe I should go back to school. I've got 1 year of college, doesn't look that good on an application. But I'm 25, I'm married, now my family's starting. I'm already working. And going back to school seemed like kind of a tough decision. But that's where I was at that time in my life, wondering what I should do to really turn it around and make the promises all come true. Well, at age 25, good fortune came my way. And sometimes it's a little difficult to describe good fortune. Why do unique things happen to you when they do? I don't know. Part of that's a mystery to me. One of my friends says, well, things don't just happen. They happen just. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But my good fortune was, at age 25, I met a very remarkable man. He was a businessman. He was wealthy. Apparently looked very happy, prosperous to me when I met him. And my good fortune was, a few months after I met this unique man, his name was Mr. Schoaf, Mr. Earl Schoaf. He hired me, gave me a job, and I went to work for him. And I spent the next 5 years working for him. And during that 5-year period, Mr. Schoaf shared with me his ideas that helped change my life. Unfortunately, at the end of that 5 years, Mr. Schoaf died. But I did get to spend 5 years with this very remarkable man. And the best thing he gave me during that period of time was not a job. The best thing he gave me was the benefit of his philosophy. How to be wealthy, how to be happy. And his ideas worked for me. Then about 16, 17 years ago, I was living in Beverly Hills. And I was going through all the notes that I gathered up during that period. In fact, that's one of the major things Mr. Schoaf taught me. Take good notes. Don't miss anything. Don't make your mind a filing cabinet trying to remember everything. Jot it down. If you hear a good sermon, take notes. If you read a good book, take notes. If you hear something good, jot it down. If you think something good, put it on paper. Then you can go over it. Repetition is the mother of skill. And someday those ideas, if you repeat them often enough, they'll take root and start to grow. And someday they'll show up in your bank account, and your personality, and your language, and your dress, and your lifestyle. So he got me hooked on taking notes, and I did during that time, and I've taken them now all these years. And on this particular day, I was going through all those journals, and the idea occurred to me, why don't I share this with other people? I've used it to build some of my other companies, but I never shared it with the public. And I thought, well, that'd be an intriguing idea. See if I could put into words my feelings and my ideas that helped me to make major changes. So I thought, well, I might as well try it. So I put the material together that I thought was the most important. And 17 years ago, at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, a few blocks from where I live, I gave my first seminar. And fortunately, tonight, you are not in on my first seminar. But when you're doing them, it's hard to leave. But anyway, I struggled through it, did the best I could, and decided, well, I'll try it again and see if I get any better. Sure enough, I got a little more comfortable with making the presentation. And then I got invited other places to share my story, my ideas. And little by little, it started to grow. And finally, now it's become my major enterprise. I've arranged my other business affairs, so I work for Sears. Book for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found that that's true. If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there's several places. The big question is not what am I getting paid here? The big question is what am I becoming here? Took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, okay. Let's spend some of your time to be here is to see what, let me give you the table of contents first. I'm going to cover 5 subjects. Let me give you those 5, and then we'll come back and take them one at a time and we'll go through them. Okay, the first subject is personal development, which is the best place to start, right? If you don't start there, nothing much is going to happen. Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Why, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting? The major question to ask on the job is, what are you becoming? So the big question is not what am I getting paid here? The big question is, what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. So that's our major subject for tonight, personal development. Of all the assignments Mr. Shope gave me at age 25, this was probably the most difficult. In fact, I'm still working on this one. I think it's an unending challenge to see what you can become. The next subject is called Basic Laws. And it's good to study the basics. And I call these basics primarily because they come from the Bible. Now, I'm not a theologian or a minister, and that'll be apparent. But Mr. Shope taught me that the Bible was a good textbook for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found out that's true. If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there are several places in the Bible to check to see what the heck's wrong so you can make the changes. And we're going to cover some of those tonight called basics. Okay, the next subject is my favorite, setting goals. Mr. Shope taught me how to set goals. What a favor that was. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met him, he said, Jim, let me see your current list of goals, and let's go over them and talk about them. He said, maybe that's the best way I can help you get a better direction started. And I said, I don't have a list. He said, well, is it out in the car or home somewhere? I said, no, sir. I don't have a list anywhere. He said, well, young man, that's where we got to start. He said, I can tell you right now, if you don't have a list of your goals with you, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s. Which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. That day, I became a willing student how to set goals. And sure enough, learning how to set goals changed my life. And I often wondered why no one had ever taught me how to set goals up until age 25. I went to high school, but if they offered it, I missed it. I went to college for a year, never heard it. I worked for Sears. Really? And to my knowledge, Sears never taught it. Right? How to set goals. So here I am, age 25, married, my family's starting, I've been to college, I'm working, and I still don't know how to set goals. But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible. So I want to share with you tonight what Mr. Shope shared with me, how to set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay. The next subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases of attitude. Diseases of attitude. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. Okay? So we'll go through those attitude diseases, how to spot them, how to look for them, what they are, and the cure. And I'm a pro on these because I've had them all, so I can give you excellent advice on these. Now, the last subject we're going to consider tonight is called the day that turns your life around. The day that turns your life around. And under this subject, we're going to talk about the emotions that can change your life. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions are powerful for life change. Now, of course, emotions are so powerful they can go either way on you. Emotions can either build or destroy. So you really have to employ emotions properly. We call civilization the intelligent management of human emotions. If you can intelligently apply your emotions in the right direction, no telling what can happen. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient. So we'll talk about those. Okay. Now that's a lot to cover in one evening. But we'll keep at it here and see if we can't get it all done. I'd like to have you now jot down the theme of the seminar. Every seminar should have a theme, I guess. We've got one. It's on some of our literature if you happen to notice it, but if you didn't, for your notes, here it is. The theme of the seminar. For a big share of my life now, I didn't have this one quite figured out, among a lot of things I didn't have quite figured out. Well, back then, with my faulty thinking, I'm trying to reason it out. I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Hey, when the clock strikes 12 midnight, that about wraps it up, right? I mean, you can look around the gongs there for a little more, but it's over. You say to the guy, what are you doing? He said, I'm looking for extra time. See, they'll come and take you away, right? There isn't any more time. Now, if you can't get more time, which you can, what could you get more of that would make a difference in economic results? And here's the key word. Make it a part of your notes. We're going to consider it tonight. The word is value. And I have a little phrase for your notes. Value makes the difference in results. Value makes the difference. You can't get more time, but you can create more value. Now, here's the first lesson of economics. Everybody should learn it from the time they're old enough to understand what a dollar means, how to earn one, how to get one, how to keep one, what to do with it. First lesson of economics. We primarily get paid for value. That's lesson one. Bringing value to the marketplace, that's how you get paid. You don't get paid for the time. I know it takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but you get paid for the value, not the time. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the evening. Is it possible to become twice as valuable at the marketplace and make twice as much money in the same time? Could you become 3 times as valuable? Make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? The answer is yes, if. And it's always if, right? Life is known as the big if. Harry Truman once said, life is iffy. How true. And here's the big if we're going to consider it tonight. It's possible to do much better at the marketplace if you go to work primarily on yourself. And that's the theme of our seminar tonight. Learning to work primarily on yourself. People have asked me for the last 24 years, how do you develop an above average income? And the answer is, become an above average person. Develop an above average handshake. Some people want to be successful, they don't even work on their handshake. As easy as that would be to start off. They let it slide. They don't understand. Develop an above average smile. Develop an above average excitement. Develop an above average interest in other people. Develop an above average intensity to win. See, that'll change everything. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above average job with above average pay without becoming an above average person. It's called frustration. Mr. Job gave me probably the greatest clue he gave me when I first met him. He said, Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That was it. The beginning of the philosophy that helped change my life. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When he said that, I suddenly understood why I was broke. I was a hard worker on my job. If anybody would have asked me, age 25, Mr. Roney, you a hard worker? I'd have said, yes, I'm a hard worker. Check my record. I work as hard as anybody. And that was true. I was a hard worker. I really was. But see, that was my problem. I was working hard on my job, but I wasn't working hard on myself. And that was my reason for lack of progress. Some people look for more money, but they look for it in the wrong direction. The guy says, I need more money. I'm going to go work on my boss. Well, number one, bosses are notorious. They do not play fast and loose with the company till. I've never seen a boss get excited and triple somebody's wages, right? I mean, they don't behave in such an irrational manner. So, see, that's not what you work on. Some people say, well, I'll go on strike for more. Well, big deal. The problem with that game is, once you start it, it's never over. You'll always have to strike. And I'll tell you what you get by demand. Little bitty pieces. Barely enough. And now inflation beats that game. Right? The guy demands 10%. Inflation's 12. He's behind 2. I mean, it never ends. So, see, that's not the key to success. Maybe survival, but not success. The guy in sales says, I've got it. I'll give me some of those books that teach you the tricky sales. And I'll go leap upon my prospects, dazzle them with my sales footwork, grab their money before they know what's happened. Well, you can play those kind of tricks if you want to. My observation shows the last 24 years, you wind up at the bottom of the economic ladder, not the top. See, it's not what you get by tricks. It's not what you get by demand. It's what you get by performance that counts. So that's one of the key phrases of the evening. It's performance that counts. And I discovered this. Performance comes from inside, not outside. For a share of my life, I'm looking for the answers to do well outside. Found out they were inside. Then Mr. Shope gave me probably one of the most important clues among so many things he taught me, but this was in those early days. Mr. Shope was very kind, but he was also very abrupt. And he had these interesting questions to ask. I'm giving him a little rundown one day on how things hadn't worked out for me. He said, Mr. Owen, I've got the answer for you if you will listen carefully. And listen carefully I did that day and for the next 5 years. If somebody's wealthy and happy, you gotta listen. He said, Jim, I've only known you a short time. But he said, it's already my honest opinion that for things to change for you, you've got to change. That wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. But that's the answer he gave me, and I pass it along to you on this warm summer evening in Anaheim, California, 1981. For things to change for you, you've got to change. Otherwise, it isn't going to change. Before I met Mr. Show, I used to say, I sure hope things will change. Right? That seemed to be my only hope. If it isn't going to change, I'm in serious trouble. And then I discovered it isn't going to change, so I'm in serious trouble. See, I can tell you what the 80s are going to be like. You have dropped into the right place. I did a seminar one time for Standard Oil executives and management in Honolulu. And we're having a conference one day on this big conference table. And one of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, you know some fairly important people halfway around the world. What do you think the 80s are going to be like? I said, gentlemen, I do know the right people. I can't tell you. So they all listened very carefully. And I said, gentlemen, based on my wide experience, I can really honestly say to you, in my opinion, in the 80s, it's going to be about like it's always been.
Advisors work to solve client questions about the future. Equitable helps answer how.
Aren't you glad you came? That's inside. I don't pass that around just everywhere. Now, of course, I said that to make a point, but I also said it because it's accurate. It's going to be about like it's always been. It isn't going to change. The tide comes in, and then what? It goes out for 6,500 years that we know of, recorded history, and probably long before that. So it is not going to change. It gets light, and then what? It turns dark. 6,500 years. See, it's not likely to change. And we're not to be startled by that. If the sun goes down, the guy says, what's happened? What's happened? It means he hasn't been here long, I guess, right? It always goes down about this time. The guy says, well, I don't like that arrangement. Well, you've got to talk to somebody besides me, right? It gets light, then it turns dark. In rotation, the next season after fall is what? Winter. Pray tell, how often does winter follow fall? Every year regularly for the last 6,500 that we know of. See, it is not going to change. Now, some winters are long, and some are short, and some are hard, and some are easy, but they always come right after falls. It isn't going to change. Sometimes you can figure it out. Sometimes there's no way to figure it out. Sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it gets in a knot. Sometimes it sails along. Sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change. The last 6,000 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it reads. It isn't going to change. The man says, well, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. And whether I'm talking to high school kids or business executives, my message is always the same. And it goes like this: the only way it gets better for you is when you get better. Let me give you the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Here's 4 majors. It's good to study the majors. In our weekend seminar, we teach. Some people don't do well because they major in minor things. You've got to be on the lookout. At the end of every week, end of every month, you've got to check, make sure you're not spending major time on minor things. Okay, we go through that whole series. Majors and minors. Now, let me give you 2 phrases before we get to the 4 majors. This will set it up and you'll see where I'm going. 2 key phrases for your notes. Here's the first one. Life and business is like the changing seasons. That's the first phrase. Life and business is like the changing seasons. One of the best ways to describe life, it's like the seasons. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the seasons. Now here's the second phrase. Very important. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And see, that's how life gets better for you. Not by chance, but by change. Now, here's the 4 major lessons in life to learn. I've got my first book finished, came out a couple of weeks ago. This is it, the 4 major lessons to learn. Here they are. Number 1, learn how to handle the winters. That's lesson 1. They come right after falls with regularity. Some are long and some are short and some are hard and some are easy, but they keep coming. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They always follow progressions. For the last 6,000. See, it isn't going to change. The lesson you must learn is how to handle it. And there's all kinds of winters, right? The winter when you can't figure it out. The winter when it all goes smash. The winter when it turns belly up. The winter when it won't work, when you've run out of money and you've got a broken heart. See, those are winter times. There's all kinds. Economic winters, social winters, personal winters. When your heart is smashed in 1,000 pieces and the nights are unusually long, your prayers seem to go no higher than your head. It's winter time. Barbra Streisand sings, "It used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used to be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the floor till we sweep them away. You don't sing me love songs, and you don't say you need me, and you don't bring me flowers anymore." A song of winter. But see, the disappointments come. Those are normal. That's part of life. But the question is, how do you handle it? How do you handle the coming winters and the disappointments and the downtimes? Well, you can't get rid of January by tearing it off the calendar.
Hey man, been thinking about you. I know for me, just talking to someone helped.
But here's what you can do. You can get stronger, you can get wiser, and you can get better. The winters won't change, but you can. And that's how life changes for you. See, before I understood when it was winter, I used to wish it was summer. I didn't understand. When it was hard, I used to wish it was easy. I didn't know. And then Mr. Shoaff gave me a part of his very unique philosophy when he said, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better." See, that triggered my whole life change. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. That's the key. So that's lesson 1, learn how to handle the winters. Here's lesson 2. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. That's the second. Spring is called opportunity. And spring follows winter. What a great place for it. If you were going to put it somewhere, that'd be the place to put it, right after winter. And pray tell, how often does spring follow winter? Every year with regularity, 6,000. You can almost count on it. See, opportunity always comes. Days follow nights. Isn't that terrific? Opportunity follows difficulty. But here's what you must learn to do. Underline these 2 words in that key phrase. Take advantage. Underline those 2. You must learn to take advantage of the spring. See, just because spring rolls around is no sign you're going to look good come fall. You gotta do something with it. In fact, you have to get good at one of 2 things in life. Planting in the spring or begging in the fall. Or get somebody to do it for you. See, those are about the only alternatives. Now, here's what else you must do. Take advantage of the springs quickly, because there's only a few. Just a handful of springs have been handed to each of us. They don't come forever. Life is fairly brief. So you've got to read every book you can get your hands on what to do with your springs while they're here. And take advantage, they soon run out. The Beatles wrote, "Life is so short." And for John Lennon, It was extra short. But life is brief. Elton John sings, she lived her life like a candle in the wind. It's brief. So whatever you're going to do with your life, you got to get at it. Don't just let the springs pass. Here's the third major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to protect your crops all summer. You got to take care of what you start. Sure enough, as soon as you've planted your garden in the spring, the busy bugs and the noxious weeds are out to take it. And here's the next bit of truth. They will take it unless you prevent it. And that's the third major skill to learn. You've got to learn to prevent the intruder from taking all the good you start. It's one of the challenges. Here's two key phrases under number 3. First one, good will be attacked. On this planet, maybe not the next one we get to, but on this one, all good will be attacked. Every garden will be invaded. Not to think so is naive. And here's the second phrase. All values must be defended. Political values, social values, community values, family values, marriage values, friendship values, business values. Every garden must be tended all summer. Third major lesson. Now here's number 4. Fourth major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. Learn to reap come harvest time without complaint. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. It's one of the highest forms of human maturity, accepting full responsibility. It's the day
Hear
you
that,
know
TTS.
from childhood to adulthood. The day you accept full responsibility. And another note, learn to reap in the fall without apology.